everybody, this is No Excuses. I'm your host, Rodney Arbona. My special guest is Darick Spears, producer, music extraordinaire, rapper, hip-hop, you name it, book writer. I want to hesitate, but I know the list is longer, so we just better just talk about it. How's that? How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm very, very honored to be here.
Oh, thank you.
Very honored to be. You know, when me and you first met, I felt the energy, the genuineness.
Oh, we had a great time, didn't we?
I just love genuineness. So, you know, it's very rare to meet somebody who's genuine. So I had to come out. I'm from a small town called Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So being able to come out to New York City and to be able to get this great interview, even in this great place.
Isn't this place awesome?
Very historical.
And
very.
I'm so grateful you flew in for this as well, because I just couldn't wait, because we had so much fun about almost 2 years ago now at the pre-Grammy parties. And as you know, it's so busy those days. There's no way you can really get Darick Spears for more than like 3 minutes. It's just impossible, because the line was like 92 long every time I turned around. There was one point I said, look, man, I'm just tired of talking. Please leave me alone.
There's a lot of people.
So this is so special that we get a chance to hang out, because watching you at 54 Below and watching you at the Marriott, between all the different things you're talented in, this is such a way for you to share. I'm so happy.
I love, and I appreciate that. I appreciate it, because growing up, I would never have envisioned being even at the Grammys. You know, sitting in my little room watching the Grammys every year, watching it, you know, on TV.
Right.
And almost not getting jealous, but kind of knowing that you have a gift to do something, the same thing, and you're like, I should be there. It started young. I mean, I was a writer when I was young. From about age 3, 5, 6, I always carried a notebook, and I would write poetry, and I would write. That's how I communicated actually to myself every day.
That's wonderful.
I really couldn't communicate with people, so I was the kind of classmate that would find a person in the classroom who had an issue. They would be sad. Back then we passed notes. We didn't have cell phones. So my friend, she'd be sad, and I'd be like, you having a hard day? And the next period I give her a poem telling her she was beautiful. Or you know, it became like a pass song every day, all day, but I communicated as a poet, but I was kind of looked at as foreign, because it wasn't really, writers were looked at, creative people weren't looked at as cool. It was more like, he's kind of
weird,
quirky, weird, like
geeky.
Yeah, so that's how I learned how to communicate. Though first, it with anything is writing, you know. So it was a very pure experience for me to get that out, especially with the neighborhoods we grew up in. It wasn't normal for you to express your feelings. It was more of, you go outside, you got to be hard.
Right.
You know, you walk down the block, it's a lot of people, a lot of senseless violence, and you got to mask that, you know. So my notebook was my voice. So if anybody found my notebook, they would do that. And a lot of times I wrote about that stuff. And, you know, today I run a tri-media company, which is really 3 periods of my life. One of it is writing for books. One of it is music, because the music was also something that I grew up in a religious household. So my mom and dad didn't allow us to listen to any type of secular music. But I had friends who listened to secular music, Marvin Gaye, you know, any type of music. I just began to soak in, like when I went over to their houses, and I had to listen to it outside the house, because it actually enhanced my writing and my creativity. And my dad, he's such a cool person. He wasn't like hard on me. I came to him one day and said, hey, I really write really well when I listen to this music. I know you don't allow me to listen to it, but if you let me listen to it. And he was like, okay, just keep it down. So I would sit there.
Don't let your mom know.
Right on there. I would write all day long, you know. And my story is, you know, like a lot of people, a lot of kids, you know, they grow up, and creativity, when you find something you're really good at, it comes easy. So to write poetry or write rapping came later because of a challenge.
Right.
I was into basketball in high school. I'll play basketball like it was nobody's business. Like Michael Jordan was my it. 98 when he hit that shot, my basketball, my basketball dream kind of deflated. I was like, I saw perfection. I don't really need. And my friend challenged me in 1999. He said I could write a better rap than you, and I'm a very competitive person. So I said, what? I had already been writing poetry all my life. So I was like, what? So I kind of converted it to music. And at that time, I was the first one in my house to go to college. I was the first one in my house to do a lot of things. To go to college.
Good for you.
My mom and them never went. So I kind of had the opportunity because it was a Hispanic guy who came to my neighborhood. It was foreign because Milwaukee is very segregated. The south side is Hispanics. North side is mostly African Americans, and east side is, college students and all. So it's more of a segregated city, and it's still like that to this day. So he came to the north side and said, I have an opportunity for one of you if you want to come with me to Marquette University, I can get you into college. And I'm the only one at the time. I'm a bold person. I'm like, I'll go with you. And at the time I was attending a school, a 220 program.
And what's that?
A 220 program, it allowed African low-income students to go out to the suburbs to go to school out into a pre-college, like a pre-college prep school. So it was very hard for my sisters and brother. We three of us, we went out there, so we escaped the senseless public schools where we were fighting every day, drugs, all that. We had to go back to the city after we went to school, but it gave me a chance. It was my first time, really, really seeing racism like right in my face. Like the kids would call you the name right in front of you, and it was like my brother and my sister got held back a grade as soon as they got out there. I was the only one who didn't, so I learned very quick, to be competitive and to move 10 steps before everyone else.
That's wonderful.
By the time I got to 12th grade, I had not even applied for college because of the school system I was in. They weren't really looking out for my, I don't want to say it, but they weren't looking out for African Americans like that. No one told me, hey, it's an opportunity here. So when the guy came into my into my job, I went with him, and I eventually got into college. And it was a way, honestly, I only went to college to escape the neighborhood. And I was like, I just don't want to be in this school. I don't want to be in this area. And I tried to be the guy who brought all my friends,
I'm laughing because that's why I play trumpet.
You try to do it to escape.
I was like, all right, I'll take every trumpet class and studies and theory and flute and trombone.
So you have talent, and talent helps you escape sometimes. So I was like, I don't give a care what I have to do. I just don't want to live.
I don't want to be in the street.
I don't want to be here because my brothers were selling drugs. They were doing all of that, and I had a thing where I wanted to be the opposite of my two older brothers because growing up, because I was quirky, I was creative. I was looked at as weird. They would tell me I was weird. Oh, why you like your brothers and this and that, and I dabbled into those things too in the neighborhood, but I wanted to be more of a thinker and
good for you
and stuff like that. So I went to college. I wanted to go way left than what they did. But it wasn't like it was foreign because I tried to bring those people with me to my world and they didn't understand it. But how I got into music was I started to really learn that period of time, music took over my life where it was like I could escape into something. An album was like an escape to me. It was like a book. It was almost like a book, but it was audio books. And I was like, okay, I can live in Queensbridge right now listening to a Nas album. I don't even know and my friend, ironically, he always listened to a lot of New York stuff. And I never knew anything about New York. I actually visited New York in 2000. And it was so foreign to me when I got out here. I literally stayed in a hotel the whole time. And they were like, we can go here, you can go here. And I was scared because it moved so fast. I was like, I don't know what's going on because Milwaukee's a very slow city. So I would always
nothing as fast as New York. I don't care where you come from.
No. But music helped me escape. And film, how I got into acting is when I went to college, I went in as an actor. So I took acting school.
That's wonderful.
You use any type of talent to be like, okay, I can act,
Just keep me in school.
Just keep me in school so I don't have to go back home or go back to this area. And a lot of the stuff that I talked about was things from those areas. So my message and all my music and films and stuff became what I grew up around. You know what I mean? And also what I experienced with neglect or treated differently because you're because you do different things than other people.
You're geeky.
Yeah, geeky, or not even just geeky, you just think different. When you're a creative person, you can look at something and just be like your mind sparks and you might look at it like totally different. Like you could walk down a block and everyone becomes a character.
You're a visionary.
Yeah, you're a visionary.
Where they can't see that vision.
Yeah, they might walk down the block and say, "Oh, this is everyday normal thing. We'll go to the store, get some liquor, this and that." And you're like, "Cool," but you can make it
Put
into
it in a paper bag.
Story. Yeah, you can make it into an interesting story that'd be like, "Whoa, okay, I didn't look at it like that." And that's what music helped me too. So I could tell a story. How I got into book writing was my daughter, my oldest daughter. She's autistic. I was staying home as a stay-at-home father. I got married when I was 25. So I've been married for 13 years.
That's awesome.
So I stayed home because I couldn't really deal with corporate America, and I didn't get along because of the creative person I am. So I was at home and I was doing, I was going through the motions. I had therapists coming to my house 35 hours a week. I was a father and I had daughters, you know what I mean? I have 3 daughters right now. So I had to go through this stuff. So I started beginning one day to write everything down as a journal. And I wrote a book called The Diary of a Stay-at-Home Dad, My Journal Behind Bars. And I put it out. It was funny. It was like, it became an Amazon bestseller.
I love it.
And I was like, oh, snap. I was like, okay. So I started writing. I wrote a book. And what happened was I began to challenge myself. I actually was at the Grammys last year. And I was talking to one of my friends, and I said, I'm going to write a book and publish it every month this year. And she said, you're lying. And I just want to challenge myself. So what happened was I had a phone call from one of my friends out here in Brooklyn, and I was trying to get books in the jail system. And the reason I wanted to put books in the jail system is because I had written some books. And a lot of times when in the prison system, they have books, they have the books that they have aren't
They're
really
beat up.
And they're not even teaching you really a lot of things. So I was like, I want to write reality stories that they can really relate to and help enhance, in business and entrepreneurship and and get stuff in there. But the guy I was trying to do it with, he was more like it was a door shut. He didn't like the fact that I didn't have books with just boobs on it and women. Seriously. So I took it as a diss, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna create my own store. And I began to write books, and within the last year or so, I literally published over 50 books.
That's awesome.
And
wow.
I just recently opened a store in Milwaukee. I'm opening it up. Actually, it's supposed to open up next month, and it's the first book of store of its kind because it's a bookstore, but every book in the store I've written.
That's wonderful.
All the catalog, and I took that as a challenge because a door slammed in my face, and I learned that when you have challenges, a lot of times you have to. It's the way you react to the challenge.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So are you writing a book, A Door Slammed in My Face?
I could write a book.
You should.
I should
because I'm hearing that.
But in life, you learn that. It's whenever doors slam. I feel like it was something behind that door. Maybe they didn't want you to see.
Right.
Either you can just like give up, or you can kick that door open.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And
that's somebody's fear, and you're developing a prosperity out of it.
Very much so. So music and film and writing have become like my canvas. What I can paint, what I can throw. And
so, what is it like being home as a single dad with 3 girls? You're obviously a minority, the only man in the house. And you're writing music, books, and taking care of kids. And of course, I know you're doing what your wife wants.
Oh.
And she's a lovely lady. Only because she's staring at me right now. No, I'm only kidding.
Well, you know what? It's a hard job. Well, I tell anyone.
But somebody's got to do it, right?
It's a hard job to be responsible.
Absolutely.
Because you want to say, well, you have a kid, you have something that's beyond you.
Yes.
So sometimes it can push you. And sometimes it could push you to the point where you're like, you know what, I really need to make this happen. But time to me is very important. The time you spend,
yes,
and the time you have with other people, the time you put. It gave me time to work on my craft too, and to perfect my craft. Because had I not, it was times where I went out and I wouldn't just be at home. I would be out on the road doing stuff and doing music, anything I could get, and I perfected my craft so much that people would call me when they thought of someone who they needed a rap verse from, or they need some music from. And it was because I was always honing my skill. And my oldest daughter, she's autistic, so she loves music. So anytime I'm making music, a lot of times if I make the right song or something, she'll run in my room and literally knock the door open and be jumping up and down. I'm like, oh, and that's a good, okay, that's a song.
That's a signal.
You picked that song.
That's a signal right there.
So a lot of times, that can increase your drive to go out more and do what you're supposed to do. And sometimes you don't know why you are in the position you are in life. You don't know. Sometimes it really depends on how you deal with what falls into your lap.
Right.
And I think that's what creative people do. They could take something and make something out of nothing. And you may think it's nothing, but it's something. It's something. You know what I mean? Without creativity, I think the world would be dry.
Oh, very so much so. And you bring up a great point, because there's so many times what you just said a moment ago that you don't think it's much, but so many other people do.
Yeah.
And that's really important, that you have that family surroundings who's kind of either giving you the thumbs up and thumbs down. Yeah. It's kind of like built in, which is awesome.
When I first met you, that was what really, I told my wife, I got home, you came to the show, you saw me perform this and that, and just your appreciation of my art made me, because I don't care what anyone says, at the end of the day, when you create something, it really makes you feel good when someone appreciates it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It may not even be about the money or anything. It may just be like they come and say, that changed my life, or I really like what you did. And you're like,
thank you.
Thank you. It's like,
welcome.
Wow. I was just working on that in my room, or I was working on that in my store, and you like that, and you wore that, and it makes you feel like really good and know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So that was a blessing to me. When I met you, that energy you gave me, I was just like, that type of energy we all need to kind of give to each other, like real genuine, because in an industry where everyone is competing with each other, or who can make the best this, best that, and a lot of times to collaborate and integrate, your creativity with each other can make something even more creative.
100% more. We need the feedback, the vibes, the energy, like you said. The energy is the most, transferring energy to me is equal, if not more than sometimes words.
Yeah. And
when somebody, like you said, it is an industry where people want to be on top. I prefer to push people on top. And likewise. That to me, what No Excuses is all about. It's not, that's why the show's not called Rodney Arbona. There's a gazillion talk shows and they all got their name labeled on it. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm not taking their talent away. But I just feel at that point, then what happens when the show ends? Or you end? Yeah. Then so does that pathway to that the people that were watching looking for answers, it ends. Yeah. This to me is people like you and I collaborating and giving people what you just kindly said about your life and how you got where you are. They can learn from that.
Exactly.
Darick, there's a lot of people who are going to see this and are going to say, I wish I can do something. And when they see that, or they think about writing books or think about writing music, and they're afraid, you take their fear out.
You got to put, they have to put their self into what they do.
Yes.
I believe God has blessed us with a lot of us have gifts.
We all got
certain
gifts.
Things, and you stay in your lane. You perfect your craft, what you do best. Put you into it, and like you said, do it. Do it to help others. At the end of your life, at the end of your page, end of your chapter, what did you do to elevate others?
That's right.
And not just yourself. And I don't want to just. I only want to elevate and help others to be like, hey. Okay, this guy failed the writing assessment. And that's another thing. I failed the writing assessment when I was in 9th grade because I wrote different. And it's great.
The funny thing about that is, and here's the methodology, greatness comes when you're out of your comfort zone.
That's the purpose.
So you failed on one part, but you excelled in everything else.
You gotta not take failure as I'm gonna stop. Just keep going. Like I say always finish what you start. If you're making a cake, make it. I when I was in college, when I met my wife, I cooked one meal all the time.
Don't tell me cake.
No, I only made rice and chicken. Every time I would feed her rice and chicken. It's because I didn't know how to cook. I just cooked one thing. And then eventually, I started learning and I cook 90% of the meals in the house now. So I cook everything, but they didn't know I started with one meal. It was rice and chicken, and I'll always bring it over to her dorm. Hey, I got some more rice and chicken for you.
but like any good musician, you improvise.
Yes, improvise. And that's what life is. You keep going, you keep perfecting what you do, you keep getting better, and then you turn around and it's a whole variety. You could
That's right.
do spaghetti, Alfredo. They're like, how do you cook all this different stuff? You're like, oh, I started with rice.
Don't ask.
And chicken. Rice and chicken.
Just eat it and enjoy it.
Yeah, just eat it and enjoy it.
There's too many questions right now.
But it's the truth, though. Like, you have to start somewhere and then finish. I say when you get up in the morning, make your bed.
Yes.
Finish the task. If you learn how to finish a task, then it'll kind of start diving its way into your everyday
It's
walk.
funny you mentioned that because there's an admiral who wrote a book, Make Your Bed.
Oh, wow. That's it.
And he talks about just that, exactly what you just said. You have to start your day with finishing and ending a task. So if you make your bed and you go out to the world and you hope to accomplish certain things, and unfortunately there was challenges that didn't allow it, but when you come back home, then your bed is made and you look at that accomplishment.
Yeah.
And then you know you can start the next day fresh.
Yeah. I felt so many times. I mean, so many things I felt at, but I had the satisfaction that I went through with it the whole way there. And I was like, hey, I learned from it, whether I'm not good at it or is this something I don't want to do, or I got better and better. When I first started editing music and stuff like that, I was horrible. But then I got better and better, and then all of a sudden I'm getting calls from people, can you do this? Can you do that? I'm like, oh, I remember when I first couldn't even, you know what I mean? Like, I got better and better just by doing it.
I don't believe there's any such thing as failure. The only time there's failure, and one of my quotes is, trying not succeeding is a lesson, but not trying is failure.
Yes. Do not.
So the fact that you're trying, you're succeeding, even if you're not accomplishing, or anybody who's listening, thankfully for you, that keep trying. Right? That is the lesson, and that is the success that you're trying.
If you stop trying, I mean, and if you don't try, you're gonna live the rest of your life wondering, man, what if I try? What would I have done if I did try that? Versus I tried it, maybe it just didn't work for me, but at least I can say I tried it.
That's right. And then you know what you do and don't like, or what you're good or not good at.
Yeah.
What's next for you, my man?
Oh my goodness. So I'm excited, music, I've actually done some collaborations with some artists of some music that's coming out this year. I can't speak on it because it's kind of like
I know how it is.
And then I'm working on the bookstores, opening the brick and mortar, and I'm really, really inspired by this spot I'm in right now because
this is beautiful.
Because I'm opening my first brick and mortar spot in Milwaukee, which is crazy because I was a kid going to the library also when I was a young kid. Never would have thought that I would have my own bookstore. So, I'm just
with your books.
Yeah, with my books. So
it's one thing to have a bookstore, but a bookstore with Darick Spears is a whole different story.
And the reason I challenged myself because I felt like, I said, you know what? I haven't heard of a store where it's all the author wrote everything in the book, in the store. And I said, this is going to be it, whether it succeeds or fails. I'm going to say that I opened the first one that I know, especially in my city, where it's a brick and mortar spot where you can come. And I don't just with the books. I also do workshops.
Oh, that's awesome.
I already got clients where I'm helping them write books. I want to see people who have stories get their stories. I was talking to a guy. He's like, man, I had a lot of problems growing up, and even things that happened in his neighborhood, and he jailed many times, back and forth. And he was like, I just want to write a book. And I was like, well, I'm going to help you write that book.
That's
I was
awesome.
like, my joy is to see you walk out and walk around and say, hey, I got a book. My grandmother really, really brought that. Last year, she had a book she wrote years ago. Well, she wrote a script or whatever.
Okay.
And I actually got her first book. And to see her going around, she's selling her book.
Aww.
She's 85 years old.
God
she's
bless
selling
her.
her books to people. And she's like,
forget about lemonade. I got books.
She's like, you help me realize my dream. And I'm like, that's the greatest joy for me.
Yes.
Is to see you with, not myself, but see you with a book,
tangible
book in your hand that you say, hey, I wrote a book about some stuff in my life and it helped me get it out and it helped other people. And I'm like, that is, that's euphoric for me. So
that's awesome, Darick.
So that's the next plan, man, to keep moving and keep going and keep rolling and trying to get like you.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate you.
You're so welcome. So do I, Darick. Thanks so much. And you better have a nice insignia in your store or out the door, on the door before they open up that says Amazon bestseller.
You're right. You're right. I never thought about it. I thought, man, you have
right
to,
there.
Sometimes
right
you have to. It's not bragging, people.
It's not bragging. It's edification, and why you opened it up, and why the book and the store is there. Amazon bestseller.
Hey, you heard it from him.
All right. Amazon bestseller.
The legend.
Darick Spears. Thank you so much, my friend, for being here today. It is such a pleasure.
Thanks
for watching, everybody. We'll see you again. No excuses. Darick Spears. I'm Rodney Arbona. You know that by now. See you again. Bye.
All right. Take care.